Hey guys, if we reach 1,000 likes, we'll be giving out 2 of our new shirts. All you gotta do is click like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Cartoons, the supposed thing that's only for kids, is a multi-billion-dollar venture. These shows that are supposed to be whimsical, nonsensical, and ironic cost upwards of $300,000 per episode. And that's not Monopoly money. So you better bet your buns that there's a lot of money spent when researching to see if the show will actually be popular or not. But despite this, sometimes shows that everyone thought would be beloved end up being some of the most hated. My name's Moliminous, and join me as we count down the top 5 surprisingly hated cartoons. Number 5. Samurai Jack. This was one of the most anticipated reboots of all time. Samurai Jack was a staple of Cartoon Network back in the day. It was probably one of their most unique shows that was airing, because not only was it pretty violent, it had a cohesive plot that actually was way deeper than anything else that they ran. In fact, it's a lot deeper than the majority of cartoons that are out there now. They really got away with as much violence as they did simply because it was, robot, and robots don't have souls. So they were able to slice and dice and mice as much as they wanted. I don't think that last one actually works, but you know what I mean. However, there was something that they didn't calculate when taking into consideration of rebooting this beloved series: the toxic nature of Tumblr. Yes, everyone loved this, except for the fact that it turns out that Jack has a heterosexual love interest, because apparently some people on Tumblr had already decided that his sexuality was homosexual, I guess? I'm not exactly sure why, but sure, you could say that the love interest was too forced, or that it was too fast. But if your main problem is that it's because it's straight, I think you need to check your priorities. Regardless, there was some backlash from here, but it was mainly just whiny kids, and most people took the piss out of them by just laughing at them and making video compilations about how stupid they are. That being said, there still was a great deal of them. Number 4. MOP. So this one is kind of a catch-22. You see, MOP wasn't actually bad when it first came out. It was a pretty competent show. It was aimed at, tweens and other smaller kids, and that's what they wrote for. There wasn't this inherent complexity to what they were doing, and yeah, their music was pretty awesome, but there was nothing that would have probably made people hate it. Except, like with a lot of things, the fans. The fans kind of tainted other people's views of the show, and unfortunately that created a lot of backlash. So people that would normally not even be interested in it at all suddenly had a negative view of it simply because of other people who watched it. And because of this negative view, they automatically wrote the show off as being bad. And because of this, they also see the show as being bad whenever they do actually give it a shot, because they were already predisposed to view the show as bad. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with MOP, such as duplicate characters, copy and pasted crowds, animation errors, but it's not a bad show. It's just, people seem to just not like it because of the fans, and that's kind of sad. If we can separate the art from the artist, then why can't we separate the show from the fandom? I don't even think the Brony fandom is that toxic. Sure, there's certain elements that can be, but that's with everything. Needless to say, Hasbro's not exactly hurting for money, but they do try not to cater as much to the Bronies openly. Number 3. Powerpuff Girls. This is another Lauren Faust creation. Well, not really her creation, she just kind of had her name on it. I believe it was another person's. Was it her husband's? I'm not exactly sure. It gets attributed to her even though it's not really hers, but the point being, this was another beloved show and it got a reboot. In fact, it's gotten multiple reboots. In fact, in one case, it became an anime. Yes, your Western cartoon literally transcended to become an anime, Powerpuff Girls Zeto. And it was actually pretty good. In fact, I'd go as far to say I enjoyed Zeto more than I did the original. But maybe that's just because I'm a filthy weeaboo. That being said, it was bound to hit a few hitches here and there. People, for some reason, forgot about the other countless reboots of the series and decided that this reboot just didn't fit the core message of the original. Because, you know, the 3D reboot and the anime reboot were just so fitting to the original concept of the show, am I right, guys? But people started harping on it for things like animation errors, and boy, it was kind of ironic because I saw a lot of bronies saying it was a bad show because of animation errors. You guys realize how many animation errors your show has, right? Like, I literally have hours of content detailing them. That aside, it really seems like a case of people just simply being really nostalgic for an old show that they grew up watching, and they didn't really want to see it be remade. And also selective memory about the 3 other versions of the show that were also made. And again, despite people hating it, I don't think they realize how popular it actually is overall. That being said, they did want to capitalize on the nostalgia factor, and it seems like people who remember the old show hate the new one, and people who have no idea about the old one love the new one. Number 2, Steven's Universe. So, just like MOP, it's kind of the case of the fans being the reason why people don't like the show. It's completely unfair and doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I've known a lot of bronies who love to hate on this show, saying that the introduction season isn't nearly as interesting as a lot of other shows and they don't get the hype. Well, for that I would point to MOP's first season. It was kind of slow and it didn't really have a lot to it. I kind of view Steven Universe as the same. There's an introduction period where the show is setting the groundwork. When you read a book, it's not going to be action from page 1. There has to be something to introduce these completely new characters, and it has to be something to establish its connection. So it wasn't that Cartoon Network didn't really realize this, it's that they just kind of wanted to play it safe. They did it, and they succeeded. Now the show is amazing, and I wouldn't even say the first season was bad, just clearly more safe and treading lightly than the other seasons. That being said, it didn't really garner the same kind of fandom that it probably would have if the first season was a little bit more action intensive. Plus, there's always the people who simply want to hate on something for being popular. Steven Universe by no means is hurting for money or attention, but it probably would be bigger than every other fandom out there right now if it wasn't for the first season. And their efforts to not offend anyone, they offended a lot of people's sensibilities. And that's kind of sad. And the number 1 spot goes to Teen Titans Go. Oh boy. Every cartoon channel loves to just make fun of this show because, well, because money. I mean, just slap Teen Titans Go in the thumbnail. Instant views, am I right, guys? But why is it instant views? It's because, again, nostalgia. People don't realize that, yes, that old version of Teen Titans was amazing. It was great, and I personally loved it. But that's not what Cartoon Network is about these days. They have tons of action shows, yes, but they're all kind of chippy art style. They've all kind of branched into this different kind of ironic self-deprecation humor. And that's what Teen Titans Go is. It's a very self-aware show that knows exactly what it's doing, that knows the criticisms the fans have of it, and it's just saying, yeah, we get it, and we're going to continue doing this because this is fun and we can't do the other version. People don't realize that it's not as bad of a show if you just take off those nostalgia glasses and enjoy it for what it is. It understands that the last show was left on a major cliffhanger. It understands that people love it, but there's nothing they can do about it. So they take what they can with this one, and always remember, while you're sitting there hating on the show, and you're calling it bad and awful, it's still, literally, one of the most profitable shows on Cartoon Network at this time. So yeah, the marketing team didn't make so much of a blunder as a happy mistake. While they didn't capitalize on the nostalgia factor, just with Powerpuff Girls, an entire generation that never knew the original adores this version. Love it or hate it, that's just the truth. And while I would totally love to have the originals of all of these shows, sometimes you just gotta roll with the flow. As always guys, I've been Faith from Moliminous. I hope you enjoyed, and I thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Woo! I do it for